I truly, honestly believe that now is the time for us to come together as women and men, and regardless of, your gender, sexual orientation, and so forth, that through divine masculinity, divine femininity, healing, growing, learning together, that's going to bring so much healing into the planet. And so I'm so excited to dive into this topic with you today.
Hello and welcome to Sync and Flow, the podcast with me, your host, Josie Thorne. I am a Red Tent Women's Circle facilitator, a womb healer, and feminine empowerment coach. I have been guiding women to embody their true essence through womb activations and feminine embodiment practices. I started Sync and Flow to help educate and connect women back to the wisdom of their sacred womb space and cyclical nature. I want to help all women reawaken to the true power of the feminine that lives deep within them, so that they may cultivate a relationship to self that is rooted in pure trust, divine love, and a deeply intuitive connection to the body. Thank you for being here and taking the time to listen to this podcast episode. I hope you enjoy. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Sync and Flow, the podcast. I am so excited for today's episode. We have the beautiful Ezlyn joining us today. She is a friend, a mentor, and just someone that I really look up to and inspires me a lot within the women's self-development and feminine leadership space. Ezlyn is a businesswoman, a personal transformation coach, and luxury energy healer to high-performing leaders. She has an international MBA graduate with 14 years of professional experience. She's been a lifelong student and a teacher of personal mastery, supporting many people to self-actualize and live up to their highest potential. As a modern mystic, Ezlyn is passionate about the intersections where ancient wisdom and modern science meet. She is trained in Kundalini yoga, meditation, and is a life activation practitioner and a master NLP and Reiki practitioner, supporting visionaries to do the inner alchemy to create a rich lifestyle of holistic empowerment and well-being. She has been widely recognized for her innovative leadership approach through accolades such as Fast Company SA's Top Creative People in Business and Mercedes-Benz 21 Icons. So welcome, Ezlyn, to the Sync and Flow podcast. I'm so excited to have you here. You've definitely been on my list of guests that I've wanted to call in, and I feel like this meeting of this episode just like came together so intuitively and magically. And yeah, welcome, babe. I'm so happy to have you here.
Yay! I am so excited to be here, Joes. Like we were just having a conversation the other day, a very deep conversation, like out of nowhere. We were like, no, we need to talk about this. And so I'm
Yeah.
so excited that we get to do this. And yeah, thank you for welcoming me on the show. I'm really, really excited to be here with you. And I also deeply, deeply just respect your vibe and all that you're standing for, your work, your mission. And so I'm so grateful to actually be here and be in conversation with you.
Oh, thank you so much, sister. So let's actually just dive straight in because this conversation, just to update you listeners, Ezlyn and I were just chatting on WhatsApp. All of a sudden, as us modern mystics do, we just like dived straight into the deep end of a conversation. And actually, the title of this episode that intuitively came to me is Sacred Union, Polarity, and New Earth Leadership. And this is themes and topics that Ezlyn and I are both so deeply connected to and really are spokespersons for, because we really see the way that the earth is evolving and we see our voices in this evolution of the new earth really so prominent in these conversations of the masculine and the feminine, and like the work that we're doing in individuation, and also then the work that we can do together and when we come together, because Ezlyn and I have both been supporting women for a very long time in our own respective fields. And in this conversation we were having the other day, we realized that we've both been starting to get these downloads from spirit that like actually we want to start working more with men as well. And we also want to start bridging, the masculine and feminine realms, because we see so much power in this coming together and in this union and in this sharing of the polarities.
Absolutely. You framed it so well, Jose. And I think there's never been a better time for us to start having this conversation in this space. And I know we're going to dive into it all, but I truly, honestly believe that now is the time for us to come together as women and men, and regardless of, your gender, sexual orientation, and so forth, that through divine masculinity, divine femininity, healing, growing, learning together, that's going to bring so much healing into the planet. And so I'm so excited to dive into this topic with you today.
I think I would love it if you could just give a little outline frame for our listeners on what is polarity and why is it so important, in your opinion, that we anchor into our divine feminine and our divine masculine aspects respectively, and also how this inner union can, cultivate what we want to see externally.
So in the context of this conversation, right, and we're talking about sacred union, divine union. And so when we talk about polarity, we're really tuning into feminine energy and masculine energy. And now, firstly, I mean, the feminine and the masculine, it's not really the gender or the sex. It's two forces of creation. It's two of the most powerful forces of creation, which is why in so many ways that there has been a breakdown sometimes between the masculine and the feminine. And so the masculine energy, it's about form, it's about doing, it's about having vision, moving with purpose, and so forth. And then the feminine energy is all about being, about existing, being, receiving. It's a receptive energy. And so the more we actually learn to harness these different energies within ourselves, the more we kind of create sacred union within. Now, I will share with you. So for most of my life, right, I grew up very close to my father. And so throughout most of my life, I was living my life leading almost more with my masculine energy in all areas of my life. So what that actually looked like is that very focused on achieving, attaining, doing, visioning, being focused, being disciplined, and all of that, right? And so all of those qualities are great, great, great qualities to have. But knowing what I know now, the more that we can actually start to balance this more with our feminine qualities, that we bring more balance into our life, particularly with us women. And so what I discovered in my life is that whilst I was thriving in my career, it led to me, number one, getting burnt out. And it was very difficult for me to shift from my masculine into my feminine, the receptive being energy within myself that is almost required for the type of relationship, romantic relationship that I wanted. So, and this just gives you a little bit of an example of why this topic has been so close to my heart, because one of my biggest challenges in life, also, from an astrological perspective, I have my Chiron in the 8th house in Gemini, which means that if you have this part of that makeup is that there's deep wounding around intimacy and around trust and so forth. And so because this was one of my greatest challenges in life, it was also the greatest opportunity to really learn about the interplay of the masculine and feminine and how it can serve us. And so just to put it in summary for the general audience and why it's so important is that when we're leaning too much towards one type of energy, either the doing too much or the leaning back and being too much, is that we can create almost a disharmony in the flow of our lives, in the flow of our businesses, and in the flow of our relationships. And so understanding that polarity and doing that dance between yourself is very, very key to start bringing in more harmony, more flow, even more abundance, more rich relationships. It impacts every area of your life.
Thank you for that overview. And really, what Ezlyn and I are trying to bring to you guys, the audience, is that this isn't about trying to control and fix your external life. It's around an inner harmony. That's why we say it's inner union first. And once you've created that internal balance, that internal meeting of understanding your own feminine energy, understanding your own masculine energy, and also understanding the tendencies to which you may fall. Because as you guys know, I'm very passionate around helping women step more into their feminine energy, because we have grown up in this patriarchal dominated world where, unfortunately, the masculine energy is more valued and the feminine energy is less valued. And at the same time, we haven't read rarely had role models, healthy role models growing up, and people in society showcasing what it looks like to be in a healthy masculine energy or in a healthy feminine energy. You know, unfortunately, we've actually been very much demonstrated in the public sphere toxic masculine energy and toxic feminine energy. And unfortunately, the relationships that many of us do have to these energies come from this unhealthy, wounded base. And it's just around creating right relationship to these energies and coming more into internal harmony, you know, and looking at the places in your life where you may be pushing and forcing, really trying to control too much. And that would be like an unhealthy example of the masculine. And then also places in your life where you are being maybe too passive, maybe a little bit lazy, maybe not surrendered enough, you know, and that could be an example of an unhealthy feminine energy. So really, it's super important to understand how these energetics play out. The term masculine, feminine are just human concepts for us to all know what we're talking about, but we could really substitute these words for many different other energetics. And it's just around understanding the energetics and how they play out in your life. And like Ezlyn said, a woman's body biologically, if we do not honor, and you guys know I'm so passionate about cyclical living and honoring the womb space and honoring, you know, our hormonal makeup and how we need to live, and cycle syncing is such a huge passion of mine, because this really teaches women on a fundamental level how to live in a more balanced space between their masculine and feminine energies. You know, the masculine energy coming out more in the follicular and ovulation phases of the cycle, and then the feminine energy coming out more in the luteal and menstrual phases. And so I love working with the cycle always because it allows us to create this internal balance. And like Ezlyn said, in her own experience, she was too much in her masculine, and that literally caused her body to shut down and to have burnout, which is basically adrenal fatigue. It's like your body is operating too much with this too much adrenaline, too much cortisol, and on a biological level this leads to illness and disease and sickness. And so really you can look at it from this very fundamental biological level and about health, but then you can also look at it towards business and how we create and how we make money and how we call in new opportunities and also manifestation. So there's so many different ways that you can apply these teachings to and really just create more inner harmony. And as you guys know, as within, so without, and the internal harmony and balance between your own inner masculine and feminine energy is going to then create more balance in your external world.
I love that, Josie. And also to share, you know, balance from a, let's say, a feminine leadership perspective, right? And all of your ladies, you know, for those of you who own businesses or maybe you've got a career, what that actually looks like, right? If we say feminine energy in balance, and sometimes we often think of balance in terms of like 50-50, but it's not always 50-50.
Yeah.
And so if you want to set up your business to be a feminine energy based business, meaning that you've got lots of time for creativity, for flow, to follow your intuition and so forth, is that you almost want to set up your business, your career, your life with 30% masculine energy and values and 70% feminine values. So what that actually practically looks like is that from a masculine lens, you know, is to set up systems, structures, everything that supports you in feeling grounded and safe and stable within your business, your career, your life, and then give yourself that 70% to follow your feminine flow, cycle syncing and organizing, you know, your work cycle around your cycle, creating space for creativity, for playfulness, for intuition, and so forth. So you almost want to kind of look at your life, business, your lifestyle, and just take an assessment, you know, look at the activities and the tasks that you are doing from a day-to-day basis, and then see where you are. Is it leaning more towards a masculine-based business? And that's also fine if that is what you want. But if you are wanting a more laid back, maybe more spaciousness in your life and so forth, is that you can look at making tiny tweaks into, again, your business or your career, so that you almost like kind of shift the pendulum to have it be supported by strong system structures, foundations, and then your feminine can flow a bit more.
Totally. And I love that you said this, because I was actually speaking about this to my group container the other day. It's like when you heal your relationship to your feminine energy, you're not just going to like kick the masculine out the door. It's like you actually heal them together in tandem, because we have to realize that our masculine energy is coming online to protect our inner feminine. I almost look at it as like the king protects his queen, right? And so we need our inner masculine to come online still, but in a more healthy, grounded, balanced way. And like you said, I love this 70-30 balance, because we do need the structures, we do need the systems, we do need the kind of control mechanisms that help us stay on task, goal orientated. We wake up, we know what we're doing, we in purpose, we have drive, we have motivation. And so we need that to create the safety, right? The masculine creates the safety. And this is often what women struggle with, is because they don't have a healthy relationship to their masculine, or their feminine. So they have this like really intense heart armor. I kind of call it this masculine heart armor that kind of blocks the feminine energy from coming online. And so if this is something you may be resonating with, the invitation is to, how can I create more internal safety? How can I practice more self-care? Because, while the self-care practices themselves may be feminine based, like the routine of showing up for your self-care, that is the masculine structure. And when you show up in that masculine structure again and again and again and again, your inner feminine is like, wow, like I am seen, I am held, I am made space for. And then it allows for her to blossom. It allows for her to thrive. It's kind of like, watering a flower, watering a plant and giving it the right conditions so that the flower can bloom and thrive and showcase her beauty. And that's really what we want to do, is we want to have these systems in our life, these structures that make us feel safe on a basic fundamental nervous system level. Because remember, your inner feminine is not going to be able to thrive if you're stuck in this fight or flight hustle mentality. And so you need to have that in order to allow her to come out. And this is going to be a soft evolving, it's going to be a gentle relationship that you have with your body, with your feminine energy, with the nature of your heart, your emotions, your intuitive nature. And so it's so beautiful when we can allow that space for ourselves and really like see, self-care not as this, oh, it's just something I do sometimes, but it's like, this is a must. This is a necessary part of my life, part of my daily structure that allows for me to be in my feminine flow, that allows for me to be connected to my feminine energy, because she's not going to come out if we're like forcing her to come out. Nothing happens. The feminine energy is not about force. It's about allowance and receptiveness and receiving and just like the blossoming, that soft, open-hearted energy. Ezlyn, I would love for you to speak on this kind of new paradigm in business and working that we're kind of going towards, because obviously we've come from this very, masculine hustle, work for your dreams, chase after it, working harder equals more money. And these are very old paradigms of the 3D matrix. And, as we are moving into this new earth paradigm, evolving from this 3D, going towards this more 5D way of living, this more energetic way of living, we really start to understand that like, working harder doesn't equal more money. And I think you and I have really seen, tested these energetics in our own life and like come to see like, right, like this is a fact. Like we can say that it's not necessarily always this way. And we can actually, by having the right systems and structures in place, like do less and receive more, and I think that's the beauty of living in your feminine and like being in your receptive energy, is like allowing for things to come to you. And, we can talk about this in business and manifestation and money. So I would love for you to speak about that.
Yeah, absolutely. So like if you look at this actually at a planetary level, a global scale, right? So as we know, last 2000 years plus, this entire planet and all of the systems, the political, economic, and all of the systems has been built with a patriarchal lens, as we know. And that type of leadership, it was required for that time, and all good. It's like we got
All
here,
divine timing, yeah.
all divine timing. And so now what is happening, and it's actually been Mother Earth that has been showing us this, even with COVID, resetting nature and all of that, the time has come for the feminine to rise on the planet and feminine energy to rise on the planet. Now, what is actually happening is that we as women, we actually leading the way. We are the ones that are saying, okay, well, we burnt out. We want to change our business models. We want to have different belief structures. And because of that is we actually innovating quite a lot. We are innovating with this new business model and our response to money, how we are calling in money, resources, and all that we need. And at the same time, a feminine energy based business and life is not only for us women, it's also for the men, right? Because more men are also being called to reconnect with their femininity, with their healthy feminine energy as well, being open, being vulnerable. I come from a background in corporate and I'm still connected to many, many men in corporate. I worked in a male-dominated industry. I cannot tell you how many men are on the verge of burnout and they're too afraid, too ashamed to actually admit it. They
Mm.
are tired, but yet they are providing for their families. And I can feel it. I can see it, and I know it. And which is one of the many reasons why, my heart has been calling into doing more work, with men. But anyways, be that as it may, is because of the time that we are living in history that is calling us more to connect with higher virtues in life and how we want to live our life, that it is coming more with a feminine leadership way. And now it doesn't mean that it's going to swing the pendulum now again the complete opposite way. In fact, it's just about restoring balance to this planet, restoring balance to economic systems, to families, to homes, even to religions. Like, and I always say, even up to date, is that in most mainstream religions, is that we have only basically come to understand like the face of God through the masculine.
God the
Also,
Father.
through,
Yeah.
yeah. And what is also happening now is that more feminine females are just rising up into their full spirituality, and leading the way in actually showing people how to connect with their innate spirituality, which is like a very different model. And now we're seeing more and more women lead the way in this field. So it's in every aspect of life that we are actually seeing the feminine rise on the planet now. And lastly, one thing I will say is that for us as women, we have such an important role to play, because the more we connect or reconnect with our feminine energy and live from that like divine place, the more we actually inspire divine masculinity as well. And so we really have such an important role to play. And that doesn't mean that, okay, we're here to go and save the world now and save men. No, but just through standing in our divine feminine power is that we get to role model, we get to very subtly influence the divine masculine to rise up as well.
Yeah, totally. And that we get to share in this abundance all together, and we get to teach each other and show each other the way. And I know I've had this conversation with you and many other women within the field, but we truly feel like it's not that women are now better than men, or like there's no hierarchy. Like that's what we're leaving in the past. Patriarchy has ingrained this hierarchical approach into our brains. And so what feminine leadership is all about, it's like we're sitting at a round table. We're sitting in a space where everyone's voices get to be heard, everyone's creativity inputs get to be added together, and it gets to be this beautiful co-creation. I think co-creation is such a powerful feminine energetic that is coming through this evolution, and where we get to say like, let's all, create this together, co-creation, community, collaboration. Like these are all feminine energetics that are coming through for this new earth paradigm that we're all trying to create together, where there's no one that's better than each other. There's no one that's more or less. It's like we're all on the same plane. We're all equal brothers and sisters. And we need to all come up with ideas and new structures to replace the crumbling of the old, because that's what we're seeing happen in society right now. And I really do believe, like you said, like a lot of this new earth paradigm is coming through the body and the voices and the hearts and the wombs of women, because we are so innately tapped into the higher realms through the power of our womb, through the sensitivity of our hearts, and women like Ezlyn and I are really taking a stand for this and anchoring into the fact that we are a channel for this energy to come through, because we see, ourselves stepping into higher levels of leadership, wanting to encourage our fellow brothers and sisters to step into their higher vision, their higher mission, their higher purpose, so that we can all contribute together to bringing ultimately peace on planet Earth, so we can all live more harmoniously and not be burnt out and struggling and striving and, really just stuck in this survival mode. And I think that unfortunately we have been very programmed to, see work as this like hustle mentality, and we have to go out and we get it and we fight for it and like grab it. And like what we're trying to teach you through this podcast and through, the work that we both do in our retrospective careers in the world, is that like it actually gets to be a lot simpler. It gets to be easier. It gets to be like when you put yourself first and you put your body first and you take care of yourself first as like the foundation, and you fill up your cup first, that's when you can then overflow into the rest of your lives. That's that's when you can overflow into your relationships and into the people around you and into your business, you know, and your relationship to your business becomes so much more organic and playful and soft and receptive and like this beautiful giving and receiving where you pour into your business and then your business pours back into you. I feel like we've rarely been taught to have this relationship with work where like work is draining, you know, or work makes us tired. And this is the old paradigm that we're trying to step away from, where like you get to go to work and have a relationship with your business where you get even more excited and even more fulfilled and even more driven, because it is this beautiful giving and receiving. And I think this is one energetic that we have really lost touch with, and that's why, you know, we see the world being, you know, the resources of planet Earth, really we can take it back to our relationship with planet Earth. You know, humans have just taken and taken and taken and taken, and they've forgotten that, you know, and the indigenous people knew this on such a deep level. It's like when you look after planet Earth, she will then look after you back. And it's this beautiful co-creative relationship. And now we are starting to reclaim these energetics where we get to reimagine our relationship to our business, reimagine our relationship to money, reimagine our relationship within our partnerships, right? It's not that one is better than the other. It's just around, like Ezlyn said, bringing back balance, knowing that like you get to have a relationship with your business that is so much more balanced and fulfilling. And I would love for you to speak around like what does that like look like on a practical level in terms of like running your business from a more feminine based energetic. I mean, I know you mentioned it, but really like one thing I would love to tell the audience is like with, you know, manifestation, right? Like I always like to teach that, you know, there's two ways of manifesting. You can manifest through masculine energy by like going out and working towards your goals and making all the things happen. And that is like the divine or aligned action, we call that. But then there's the more feminine energetic that is about attraction and like holding the energy that you want to attract and being holding the vision from within and aligning with the energetic of the version of yourself that has that manifested already. And through the law of attraction, we can bring it into our lives and really just like anchor into trust, anchor into our divine receptivity that comes from the heart space, that comes from the womb. When the womb and the heart are deeply healed and interconnected, we can lean back and know like, okay, I've done everything I need to do. I've done all the external physical work. And now can I just like sit back, lean back and trust in my relationship to spirit and the higher power and, you know, pray and really just like work with like the emotional energies of like, what am I calling in and like, how do I want to feel? And, you know, what is the version of myself that has XYZ manifested? Like, who are they? How are they showing up in the world? What is the emotional internal energy that that person is giving out to the world? And through that, we can also start to call in more abundance into our lives, more money, more clients, whatever it is you're trying to call in, because it comes from that deep-seated trust in yourself, but also your relationship to God, to spirit, and to the fact that the universe like has our back. The universe ultimately wants the best for us, right?
Okay, so you now touched on something so juicy, and I'm going to give you a practical example of like how I actually organize my weeks, right? And to leverage the masculine and the feminine energy, and particularly when it comes to the manifestation and calling in that, you know, abundance and flow within your business. So for example, so on a Monday, I call this my Me Mondays. And this is a day where I typically don't have any meetings. I don't have anything slotted in my day. So this is a day for creative visionary things. So you spoke about it so nicely, Josie, about aligning your mind, your heart, your body, your thoughts, your beliefs, your actions to believe that you can receive all that you are calling in. So this is what I do on Monday. I also call it Manifestation Mondays, right? Monday is a day where I get to like think about my plans. I do embodiment work around, you know, abundance. I will do some EFT tapping. I will tune into my vision. So I'll use all of my manifestation tools on that day just to like program myself to really feel it within every cell of my being that I'm going to have a successful week, or that I'm going to land that client, or, you know, whatever that thing is that you are going after. Monday is full of programming my inner world. But in that way, it's not a day to be like controlling it. Literally, it's through the art of beingness. So often times I book myself for a massage on a Monday, massage Monday as well. I always start my week doing the things that I love, whether it is moving my body or taking a dip in the ocean or just allowing myself to be. Because when you allow yourself to be, you actually showing up in the energy of the version of you that has everything that you want, right? Because if you had the money that you want, you wouldn't be stressing about it. So
Exactly.
you would live your life in a very relaxed fashion. So Mondays for me is like a feminine day. Monday also aligns with the moon energy. So it actually is, a lot of people want to like start their weeks hard on a Monday, but it actually is more of a day for like planning, meditation, and being in this feminine energy. So that's Monday. And because I do that on a Monday, I get so much more clarity on what to do. And I
Mm.
promise you, my to-do list gets cut in half because I realize half the things that I'm trying to do is actually not important. So by the time I go into Tuesday, which is like this Mars energy day, Tuesday I'm like boom, 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 done. Like, very like it's like the masculine energy, but it's like Tuesday I usually use for like any kind of marketing, sales, getting out there. I'm riding the energy of Mars and I'm stepping into my masculine energy, but it's coming from such a good place because I have already allowed that femininity to flow and that feminine energy to flow into, my week. So that's Tuesday. And then Wednesday is I usually align that more with like coaching clients and then coming back into my softness, into my heart space. That's when I write, I connect with my clients and all of that. And then Thursday, I get back into my masculine energy because Thursday is also day of abundance. It aligns with
Yeah.
Jupiter as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Expansion.
So exactly. So Thursday again, I'm using as my outward facing day. And then Friday, I also Friday for me is a day of receiving. Friday is also a very feminine day. So
Venus
usually I
Day.
have exactly Venus Day. So I have like beautiful lunches with my friends. I'm always meeting with someone or connecting with someone on a Friday. And I also just allow myself to receive on that day. What I also do on a Friday is I have my money date, my weekly money date. And this is an hour where I call it my fabulous Friday finance day. I try to get excited about all these
I
things because
love that.
I was the type of person who used to avoid looking at my money. Whereas
Mm.
now coming into my power, I'm like, okay, let me do with the things because again, if you had everything that you want, you would manage your resources with responsibility.
Yeah.
So I take an hour out on a Friday morning and I get really excited and juiced up. I deal with all of my money, personal admin, finance things, and I also do that. So developing that intimacy and that relationship with money, abundance, and so forth is also very key. And so that's typically how I run my weeks. But if I really think about it, I kind of have, I don't know if you know this book, it's called the 5 day weekend. And I always aspire to the 5 day weekend because I actually only have like 3 hardcore working days, which is Tuesdays, Wednesdays, and Thursdays. And the other days is for me to be more in my feminine energy, to flow, to be receptive, to be just in my full bliss. So that's
Mm.
just a practical example of how to let that flow into your weeks. And of course, everybody is unique and individual. And Joe's, as you know, I work very intimately with my human design and my gene key. So that's a flow that works for me. It may not work for everyone, but I think the important thing is for you to tune into your masculine and your feminine energies and how you would like it to flow into your business and into your weeks.
Yeah, totally. Thank you for saying that. If you're listening now and it's like, if for you to feel safe, maybe for you, it's like you need to start Monday with that, like, boom, power in your masculine. Like, that's what you need to claim for yourself. And like Ellison said, we're all unique. And so it's just about like really being deeply connected with your own energy, your own needs, and also your cycle. Like, as a woman, if you're listening to this, like being in tune with your cycle and knowing at different times of your cycle, you can push hard. And this is the beauty of cyclical living, is when you are in alignment with your cycle, if you push hard or be really productive in certain phases in your spring and your summer, then you can give yourself the permission in your autumn and your winter to slow down because you've given it your all in that other time of your cycle. And so really it's coming back to that balance. It's coming back to the importance of the doing and the being. But I think also what Ezlyn and I are trying to get across to you guys is like, actually, it's more important to focus on your being, and then your doing just
Yes.
naturally happens. because it's about the internal energetics first. It's about creating the foundation for your happiness, for your thriving, for your success through how you look after yourself, through eating healthy, through going to gym, through doing everything that you need to do to feel resourced and full from within. And then when you move from that place, you just flow so much better. The ideas come, the clarity is there. You've let go of all the stagnant energy in your body by working out, and then your channel is clear and you can actually like get shit done. You're less distracted, you're less preoccupied, you're so much more in the flow. The intuitive ideas come, the creativity comes, and you just know what to do next. It's not like you're sitting there like, oh, what did I do? Like, I'm so confused. Like, no, you just have that clarity because you are living in alignment. And I think this is the power of living in alignment. This is the power of being in balance. This is the power of tending to your internal world first, and then your external world just naturally starts to flow. So I think we've given you guys really like a beautiful example of how this works. And really when it also comes to money, like being in that receptive energy, like you can work as hard as you want, but if you do not have the internal energetics of self-worth and receivership, and you haven't like done internal shadow work on your relationship to these two energetics, you're not going to be able to receive the money that you want. You're not going to be able to make the money that you want because internally there is a block. And this is what Ezlyn and I are teaching in our respective businesses and in our coaching practices, is that it really starts with your internal world first. Your external world is just a reflection of your internal world. And the self-worth is a deep feminine wound. Feminine is really like she needs to feel full and in connection to her self-worth in order to feel like she is worthy of receiving. So it's just a little invitation for those of you listening to really start to look at your relationship to self-worth, self-care, and receiving. And that's where you can start to evaluate your relationship to your feminine energy, because she will blossom from healthy relation to that. So I would love to move into how do we see, the masculine and feminine coming together. I know I spoke to you a lot around like this new earth leadership, and like we really see ourselves as new earth leaders. And really, like I said, the new earth template is coming through the body of women, through the wombs and hearts of women, through the woman's intuition, because we're moving into a time where it's unprecedented. We're living through unprecedented times, and this means that we need deep relationship to God, to spirit, to guide us into this new trajectory, because there's no rule books, there's no templates, there's like, we're living in unprecedented times, and therefore the codes and the way forward, the path forward is going to come from this higher power, from our intuitive guidance, from our hearts, from our womb, which is in connection to source, to God consciousness, and realizing like we get to create a new world through our own bodies, through the way we show up in our own lives, in our relationships, and really just stepping into this power. And maybe listen, you are one of the listeners and you've had this like idea in you, like, oh, I really want to have a global impact. Like, hold on to that, babe. Like, hold on to that. That is your seed. That is your power. That is your truth. I love this saying. It says, the ones that are brave enough to say they will change the world are the ones that actually do, right? Yeah. I love that.
Yeah, I love that. That's one of my favorite quotes. Yeah, Josie, so how I actually see this, what is actually coming through for me is that there definitely is still a space for women's only circles and spaces and so forth. As women, we've been through unique challenges and we go through this stuff that we are healing within ourselves, and it feels safe to be in women's only containers, events, retreats, workshops, courses, and so forth. So there definitely is still that space. What I'm starting to see is that for us women leaders, we know that we are here to pave the future and to create the new world. I can see us opening up more spaces for women and men to come together and share together. And I was speaking to another friend of mine the other day who has also felt this. She got the same download, and she's decided to open up her new moon circles every second month to both women and men. That's just an example.
Yeah.
I see more co-creations, collaborations with women and men as well, and just giving the space. I mean, giving the space for men also to talk, to be heard, to be seen, to be felt. I would say, in short, in summary, I see us doing more in connection, co-creation together, and opening up more spaces for women and men to heal, grow, learn together.
Totally. And I think within that space, then there becomes like this deep spiritual integrity within each being, honoring their own energetics, but also honoring the energetics outside of us, because I think it's really powerful when we can anchor into our roles within this spiritual evolution, the spiritual revolution that we're all in together, And I really have been surrounded by men recently where men are actually stepping back, being like, I don't need to be the most loud voice. My voice doesn't need to be the most loud or the most obvious or the most powerful one in the room, because I know that there are other women or other people or queer people or whoever in the room that whose voices have been marginalized in society and who now are like needing that space to have their channels heard and to step up and to, take charge and to really, like you said, in this coming together, like men can start to also respect the depth of the feminine oracle. And I think this is something we can speak on as well. Like I said earlier, us as women, we're more tapped into the spiritual realm naturally because we have this womb, which is the bridge between the spiritual and the physical. And that means that we're more tapped into our intuition naturally. It's easier for us to access this, still with all the programming, but it's easier for us to access that intuitive capabilities and therefore speak from this place of universal truth, universal knowing, a heart resonance, a womb resonance, a peaceful resonance, rather than one that is distorted by egoic programming, capitalistic patriarchal programming. And in that way, women really are going to be the voice of the future, the leaders of the future, because we are able to tap into spirit a lot easier and quicker. And I think there's a beautiful opportunity for men to learn from women how they can also start to do that and how they can also start to channel their intuition, because intuition comes from the body. We can also relate the feminine to the body, the intuition, the emotional, and the spiritual. And so the masculine is more the practical, the mental, and the physical. And so we really want to teach men, women are wanting to teach men how can they be more in touch with their spiritual side and their emotional side. And I think there's a really beautiful opportunity for men to connect to the power of their heart center, the power of vulnerability, the power of being in touch with their emotions, because it's important for us to all be in touch with these themes in order to create, internal balance and harmony and, just live a healthy mind, body, soul, like live in wellness, live in health, and really like learn from each other. For me, the practical and mental aspects of life, because I'm more of a creative, I'm a spiritual, I'm an intuitive, like those aspects don't come as easily and naturally for me. So I actually want men in my life to help me with those things, to guide me, like to help me with like taxes and insurance and like shit that's like really 3D like that. Like I like freak out a little bit around those stuff. And like, so I actually want men in my life to like help me with those sorts of things. But then I also want to be able to give back, help men with being more in touch with their emotional side, with their softer side, how they can, channel source, connect to spirit, be more connected to, the mother energy, to Gaia, like to these more subtle realms of consciousness, and just how that can create so much more juiciness in our day-to-day lives and more depth in our day-to-day lives.
Absolutely, Joes. And I think, the more we as women heal ourselves in all different ways, the more we have the capacity to also hold and create that safe space for men to drop into their heart more and to express themselves more with vulnerability and so forth. So it's such a beautiful role that we get to play as women.
And I think it's quite a subtle nuance. Like I was with a friend the other day and he said something and it was like very abrasive. And then I was like, it's not that I don't agree with what you say or I don't want that. It's just that like I could tell immediately that it came from his mind. And then I just was like, can you just rephrase that and take a deep breath and just like speak that from your center and from your heart. And then he repeated himself, and immediately I was able to be like, that's better. Like, thank you for repeating yourself. You know what I mean? And I think because we haven't been very attuned to the energetics, we haven't been very attuned to the subtle realms of the emotions and the body and the nervous system. And this is something we're all starting to learn more about. It's easier for a woman because we're so much more tapped into our feeling nature. It's easier for a woman to see where it's coming from and this is where men are needing to just be more receptive and respectful of the feminine channel and of the feminine oracle to help guide him deeper into his heart. And I think this is a really beautiful opportunity for women to take leadership within their relationship, not from this forceful place, but from this invitational place, from this, let me invite you into your heart. Let me invite you into a more coherent, resonant, heartfelt knowing of like where you actually communicating from. Is this need coming from the ego? Is this opinion or this voice or this suggestion, is it coming from the ego and the head and like let's just do it? Or like is it coming from the heart space, the regulated nervous system, the invitation of I would love you to speak to me from that place, and just like how we can all guide each other rather than like force each other into these new spaces and places and within relationship as well. I think that's something we can start to speak about as well. The role of men and women within relationship, the polarity within relationship, the sacred union, this divine union that is starting to manifest, and not just in romantic partnerships, but in platonic relationships as well, also in business relationships, in any relationship, right? And just being aware of how these energetics can serve us ultimately as the collective towards our highest timeline, our highest goal, our highest mission.
I love what you said around the invitation and inviting them in. I really, really love that. And that also comes from us as women holding that within ourselves, right? Because sometimes we can also let our emotions run the show or get also into our minds. So also for us to develop that practice with ourselves to like drop down into the heart and express from our heart. And from that space is going to make it more easeful for us to be able to invite men as well. So I really love what you shared there, Josie. And I think what I will also share is that particularly when it comes to relating, and I've seen this from experience and I've seen this, with women that I work with and all around, is that we have to heal our inner masculine as well, right? Our ability to just hold and take care of ourselves in order to also call forth and attract that masculine in their divinity as well, because oftentimes they are going to mirror exactly where we are still wounded, exactly where we still need to develop a greater relationship with our inner masculine. If you take it a step deeper now, sometimes it will be rooted in issues, in trauma that came from being hurt by the masculine. So there's also a big responsibility on ourselves to nurture our inner masculine, coming right back to like acting from our king and queen and really knowing that within ourselves, because otherwise what happens is that we get attracted to dynamics where it is maybe the wounded masculine and so forth. And how you shift that is by shifting that within yourself first. So for example, if you have the fear of intimacy, it's like, there was a time where a lot of my girlfriends were all single, and we always used to say like, oh, there's just so many emotionally unavailable men. And then one day it occurred to me, but I was like, but are you emotionally available to yourself? Are you building a relationship with yourself? Because then we place all of these expectations onto men to complete us or to treat us a certain way, whereas we actually haven't developed that intimacy, that relationship with ourselves, and give ourselves what we need first, so that we see them in their higher divinity and call forth that part of them. So it works like that. And not only in romantic relationships, but one thing that I've been doing is I've been in such deep newfound appreciation for the masculine, like all the males in my life, all of my male friends, and really, really seeing them and being like super grateful for them. And, the other day I had a male friend, stand in a long line for 45 minutes to go and get something for me. And initially I was just like, I didn't think. And then afterwards I went back to his message. I'm like, oh my goodness, thank you so much. It made me feel like really so supportive. And I love that I could lean on you. And so let us not miss those tiny micro moments to acknowledge, to appreciate men, because men thrive on appreciation, on recognition, and
Yes.
respect. And that's actually when we start to call them into their power. So whether it's a friend, it's a brother, it's a father, let us start becoming more conscious of how we are treating and communicating with men.
And I love that you said that, like, it's all about that internal relationship to ourselves first. So it's not like we need the masculine. It's like we balance and whole on our own, and then we would enjoy, it would please and fill us up and fulfill our lives and actually take our lives to a more heightened level to be met in that way. And so it's not coming from this needy, like that's an unhealthy feminine energetic, is that neediness. It's coming from the I'm whole and sovereign on my own, but I would really enjoy your company, whether it's platonic or romantic. We letting go of that independent boss babe. So I've been speaking in my containers a lot around, like, we start off in these very codependent dynamics. We've all had experiences of trauma bonds and toxic relationships, and we've all kind of been there, and that's in our past. And then when we get out of those relationships, we almost swing to the other side and we become like hyper independent. And like that's what you said, like, I don't need no man, like I can do it all on my own, like I'm a boss babe, like fuck man, there's no emotionally available man, like la 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 la, you know. And it's like, that's not true, because whatever you say to yourself, it becomes your reality, right? And so what we're needing to do is we're needing to kind of meet in the middle. And this beautiful word I've been working with is interdependence, right? Interdependence is like halfway between codependence and independence. And it really takes into the fact that, like, we are social creatures. We do thrive in community. We need each other to be anchored in our strengths and also aware of our weaknesses, so that we can express that in relationship and be like, okay, how can my strengths balance out your weaknesses and vice versa? And so that's really like when partnerships and relationships, platonic or romantic, can be at their best, when we can see each other for those strengths and weaknesses and meet each other and fill in the gaps where necessary. You know, I've really seen this. So women are moving out of like that hyper independent boss babe, and we're realizing like we do want men, we do need them, we do value them, we do respect them, we do love them. And then at the same time, like, we're needing men to also step out of that like independent phase and be like, actually, you know, like having a woman in my life will enhance my life. It will enhance my connection to myself, you know, because ultimately there's a reason that polarity exists. One cannot live without the other. We all know about the yin and the yang energy. We need the one within the other to create this wholeness. I mean, I've seen this a lot within, especially within the spiritual community. There's a lot of men in the spiritual community that are like, I'm on a spiritual mission, and like I don't need no woman, and like I'm gonna be celibate and I'm not gonna connect with any woman. And I think that's a very necessary part of the healing journey, but we mustn't get too fixated on being stuck in one phase or stuck in one aspect of being, because women also need to go on that independence phase and like break away and realize that they can fulfill themselves up and they don't really need anyone. But it's like I said, it's that invitation I would enjoy. It would fulfill my life on a deeper level, satiate me on a deeper level, to be met and nourished by a masculine counterpart. And the same for men. They do need to go on this independent journey, and it is important for men to be connected to their mission and be in their purpose. But at the same time, men need to realize that the depth of their success in the world is also dependent on their relationship to the feminine. And you know, the way that women are able to guide men in the unseen realm, and often like men don't even realize it, because a lot of the work that women do within relationship and within the world, it's very much in the unseen realms. It's within the spiritual realm, it's within the emotional realm, and it's non-tangible. So it's very hard for us to actually grasp like the depth of the impact of the feminine, because it's all within the unseen, non-tangible, non-practical realms. It's more in the deeper, darker, spiritual, emotional realms, to do with the energetics. And so we just need to realize that like we really need the balance of both. And actually there's this pop culture term called the girlfriend effect, you know, I don't know if you've heard of it. And it's like when women get into a relationship and then they get out of the relationship, like the man is like, and I saw this with my ex as well, well. Like the man is hotter, he's more successful, he's making more money, he dresses better, he's more stylish, he's more put together, like he's just more in his power. And this is the girlfriend effect. And this is like the power of the feminine to call forth his higher self, to call forth his hottest, most confident, most majestic, most graceful, most whatever you want to call it self, because that's just the impact, that's the influence, that's the natural way that the feminine really inspires the masculine into his highest timeline. And I really seeing the need for men to understand this on a more practical level and to really acknowledge this more. As it's not that you need a woman, it's that like a woman will enhance your life. She will deepen your connection to God. She will deepen your connection to your purpose, to your life, to yourself, to your confidence, to your self-esteem, and therefore ultimately make you more successful, because she is calling you into your highest timeline, which is where you're going to make more money, be more successful, be more self-proclaimed, actualize, all these things. It's so multidimensional. It's almost hard for me to like put it into words.
I love what you just said now, because I think you just nailed it, Joes. Like what I've seen, especially in today's day and age, is that there are a lot of men who feel the pressure. They can see that women are just like rising and rising, and we're beautiful and we're knowledgeable and we've got everything going for us, And so for them, they wonder is like, okay, what do I actually have to add? But even in their own life, sometimes they feel like I have to get my shit together, and they think that they have to do it alone, sometimes like I have to do this and I have to do this. And only when I have these all things, then I will be worthy of being with a woman. And to your point, yes, there is a time to be independent and go on your own and self-source all of your inner resources to get yourself where you want to go to, but also to realize that with the right woman, it's going to enhance, amplify, and expedite your personal growth journey in all areas of your life. And so that is a key thing to actually understand, for men to understand about women, not to think that are not attainable or that they need to get all of these things before they can be with her, but that with the right woman, the right person, is that you can grow together. You can inspire other.
I feel like and I'm not trying to make generalizations, but what from I've observed from the men I've been around is that there's this misconception that women are like distractions, and being in a relationship is a distraction, and it's a seductive, hedonistic experience that's going to take away from their success and take away from them on their mission. And I would just love it. What do you think about that? Let's get you.
Yeah, look, I mean, like I say, it has to be the right woman as well. Like, all
a woman in connection to her power and her womb and her heart and God.
You cannot go wrong with a woman who is connected to herself and to God and to her purpose as well, because that also ensures that she is focused, so she has her own things in life to be focusing on. So she also doesn't want to be distracted, so that together you don't distract each other, but you empower each other.
Yeah, it's beautiful. And we need to just start to realize that like it is okay to rely on each other. It is okay to be, and this is why I bring back that word, interdependent, not codependent, not independent, but interdependent. It is okay to rely on each other. It is okay for a woman, for you to need a man to help you with certain things. That is okay. Like to have needs is to be human. And I think there's been this very toxic rhetoric of like, don't be needy, don't ask for what you need, don't, like put yourself first. And it's like, no, babe, like to be needy and to ask a man for help, like that is his highest service. Like honestly, when I ask men for support and I asked, like you said, with your friend, like he must have been, I'm sure he was so grateful for the opportunity to support you in that way, because it shows them our vulnerability. And when we're vulnerable with men, it gives them permission to also be vulnerable and to also ask us for help. And maybe it's not the exact same kind of help, but it's like help in a different way, maybe down the line, like he, for example, goes through a breakup and then you become the friend that he needs to speak about and like have a shoulder to cry on about, and like really just like receive your support in that way, And so it's like we provide support for each other in these multiple different ways, and we need to realize like that is powerful, that is special, that is beautiful, and that is vulnerable, and ultimately it brings us closer together.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you so so much. This has been such an amazing conversation. I've had so much fun speaking about all of this. Are there any final words that you would like to give to our audience on anything that we've spoken about?
Yeah, thank you so much, Josie. This was fun. And I know we can go on riffs forever and ever and like and then this and then that. But I love, we've taken this sacred union, divine union, femininity and masculinity within the self, within business, within life, within relationships. So it's been really, really fun having this conversation with you. And for all of the listeners, I would love to invite you to just take some time and just reflect, go into all of the areas of your life, into your relationships, into your business, into your career, into your body, into yourself, and really tune into where is the feminine and masculine energies lying. Are there any shifts required that you are willing to make that's going to empower yourself in a better way? And remember, most of the people listening to this podcast are women, is that to remember our power, and that the more we can stand in our divine femininity, the more we can call forth everyone else into their power. So yeah, I'd love to invite you just to do a little bit of an assessment, a femininity, masculinity balance assessment on all areas of your life. And if you can just make one tiny change to connect more with your divine femininity, what that will do for all of the other areas of your life.
And just one step at a time, that's all it requires. So I would love to invite you to please share around your current offerings, what's going on in your world, how can people work with you. Obviously, I'm going to put all of your links in the show notes, but yeah, please share.
Amazing. Thank you for the opportunity. So yeah, I have a range of the most magical energy healings. I'm really all about supporting people to access deeper potential so that comes online, and so that it feeds your purpose, your business, and so forth. So I have a wide range of different energy healings that I go about, which I absolutely love to give, because I've just seen over and over how much it has changed people's lives, myself included. And then I am a human design and a gene keys guide. So I support people to organize their businesses, their careers, and their lives around their unique human design and gene keys. So if that is something that you are wanting to tap into or go deeper into, you can contact me for that as well. So I'll leave with those two. And yes, as Josie said, you'll put all the other links there below.
Thank you so much, Ez. This has been so much fun. And yeah, maybe we do a part 2 sometime soon. So thank you so much for being here and for your time. And yeah, we'll chat soon. Much love.
Amazing. Thank you. Love you.
Bye. Thank you so much for taking the time to listen to this episode and engage with all the wisdom that was shared. If you enjoyed this podcast, please remember to leave a review on your podcast platform of choice, as this really helps this wisdom reach new people. If you have any questions or queries, please feel free to reach out to me via Instagram DM or send me an email. You can follow me on my personal account on Instagram at Josie, Josie _Thorne, Thorne, or you can follow Sync and Flow, my business accounts, at Sync, that's spelled SYNC _in_flow. Please feel free to reach out with any questions or queries you may have. Otherwise, get in contact to book a free discovery call to start your self-healing spiritual journey today. I look forward to hearing from you, and I'll see you in the next episode. Bye for now, loves.